Howdy, folks. Happy Monday. Well, we've got some things to discuss, a busy weekend. I went to a game as a fan. Well, not as a fan. I mean, I was still doing my reporting thing, but from the
no credential that day. That's all.
Yeah, I just wasn't credentialed, and but it was a strange experience. But we'll talk about that in later on. We'll start with the pre-show. Go ahead, Russ.
So let's talk about Jets Bills, only because there was equal stuff for both of us to be annoyed at. But I think it's more annoying when you could watch a game and you realize that you could actually do the job of the coaching staff. And I'm not a football expert by any stretch. I've been watching for a very long time. But, as an example, when Stephon Diggs had the first pass with single coverage, I was like, that's really dumb. They should do something about that. They didn't. So
then they went right back to him again.
So then they went for the end zone, and, luckily he was out of bounds, and they still didn't do anything. So then they went for the same play right after, and it worked. Then later it worked again, and later it worked again. And so the whole game they had him on single coverage, and I don't know what the end game of that is. Is it you thinking that your defense, your genius defense, will eventually kick in, or is it just, you know what, we're going to make the play? And and of course they weren't gonna. He's one of the best guys in the league. That isn't necessarily why they lost, but it's just when you see something like that. Because look, I didn't expect them to win. I was having fun on Twitter, but it's the Bills, and you knew it could be close, and they definitely could have been closer at half than it ended up being. And again, because of fumbles and stupid plays. But at the end of the day, Robert Saleh is finally feeling the wrath of being a rookie coach in New York, because there is no real grace period. It doesn't matter if you don't do your job, and he's more involved in the defense, he said, starting this past week. And so that was their second worst defensive effort of the year. Rex Ryan thought it was their worst, and he had a lot to say too. So
Of course he did, because I'm sure Rex doesn't have any animosity toward the Bills, the team that fired his sorry ass after 2 or 3 years. Him and his overweight, long-haired moron brother. Please. I'll just say this. You should be thankful for the Mike White performance, because now that ends any quarterback controversy. Because
in a way I am. And I don't mean that to be mean to Mike White, but you're right. I basically had said, and I was going to basically use this on Jets rehab, but this week, win or lose, even if he threw for another 400 yards, you still had to go back to Zach Wilson.
Right.
If he's healthy, he had to be in. It doesn't matter, simply because Mike White wasn't going to be the guy. Remember I said off the post he was the pumpkin spice of the Jets offense. And I was right. That was justified.
What was I going to – I was going to bring up something in the pre-show, and now I sort of forgot.
Oh, what were you going to bring up on the pre-show? I forget too now.
Oh, boy. Too senile.
Yeah. Oh, I know what it was. It was your iPod.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you very much. Okay. One thing that I will give the Buffalo Sabres credit for, and there are very few things I'd give them credit for, but during the first period, they showed our players have individual goal songs, and here's a list of the goal songs. So, and I'm sorry, I don't like anything past 2005. I don't know what if it's popular, I don't know what the hell it is. I listen to my iPod and songs on there. So I'm really not up on new music or, Taylor Swift or any Katy Perry or anything like that, or anything hip hop. So I don't know what some of these songs are, but I'll give them credit. So it's like walk up music in baseball. They have individual songs for the goals for players. So Jeff Skinner scores 2 goals for the Sabres, and his song is played twice. Unlike Toronto, who plays the same sad Hall & Oates, you make my dreams come true, every goal for every player. And
you know what's sinister about that song? I'll tell you what's sinister, and it's criminal. What they pass off as a guitar intro. like a 12-year-old could play that intro.
It's like a MIDI organ, MIDI organ.
Yeah, it's not even real guitar. It's like it's a bad mix.
It's the guitar setting on a synthesizer. So that's what it is.
It's brutal.
But as I took a picture of my iPod screen on my phone for in my car, and it has a list of the songs. And as soon as I heard that fake intro on "You Make My Dreams Come True," I pulled over to the side, took a picture of it, and quickly fast forwarded past that song because I am so, I'm not sick and tired of seeing Leaf goals. I'm sick and tired of hearing that song. Yeah. Get individual goal songs, please.
I mean, it's not like the head music director can't do it. All you have to do is press a button.
All you have to do is type in 34 for Austin Matthews, and it'll be probably some Justin Bieber song because him and Bieber are friends, or Mitch Marner, or whatever. Just not Hall and Oates. It's like I get freaking MTV flashbacks of them doing the little head bops. So anyway, all right.
What is Mitch Marner's goal song if he had one? What would you do, Mike? Come on.
Probably something from Triumph.
Oh.
Hello, Hockey World. Today is Monday, November 15th, 2021.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Michael Mcginla, and this is the Hockey Buzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. Okay, let's start off with let's start off with that game because it was on Friday. It was on Saturday, and then we'll talk about the Hall of Fame and some other things. But just while it's fresh in my mind, talk about Sabres Leafs at KeyBank Center on Saturday night. And Russ, I think I communicated this to our group chat that I've been going to Leafs Sabres games since 1979. I mean, I missed a couple, but pretty much even when they were coming to Buffalo 4 times a year, I would go to the Sabres Leafs games. I got Sabres season tickets just to get Leafs games at a cheaper price, and I would sell off the other tickets to my friends. Even for a preseason game, even for a game in a friggin' blizzard in 1978 or 79, there was almost a packed house, meaning at least 15 up to 19,000. Well, because of the fact of the Sabres are bad, because of variable pricing, which means that the ticket was a platinum ticket, meaning that an upper deck ticket was $75. And on top of that, because the Canadian government and because the Canadian healthcare system charges Canadian citizens between $120 to $200 for a PCR test for them to come over. That's a cost on top of the ticket.
Right.
So
a cost that's going to be more than the ticket, as you found out.
Right. I bought a StubHub ticket for $30, parked for free, and the only thing I spent money on was an order of nachos, which, by the way, folks, the cheese was cold.
And you witnessed a Leafs win, as I said would happen.
Yes.
And you said they would lose.
Because they always lose in Buffalo.
I always tell you can't go historic all the time.
I can.
Well, you did, and you lost.
Well, I didn't lose. But anyway, 7,900, just under 8,000, 7,900, and I think it was 90 fans. And sorry, Sabres, ushers. I bought a ticket in the 300 level and sat in the lower bowl. And there were sections where there was nobody within 7 or 8 rows.
Wow.
And I moved down and sat in the, $200 seats. So shoot me. But that plus, the Sabres are, I will give Don Granato this credit. They're trying for him. The problem is their talent level is, great AHL team caliber. There are, I'd say, maybe 5 or 6 good NHLers on that team, a couple youngsters, and then the rest, I think, are journeymen. And, that was a situation where, anybody who's critical of the Leafs, and Sheldon Keefe was critical of them after the game, they were up 4-2 in the third period. The Sabres had played the night before. The Leafs had played the night before, so the fatigue level was even. And the Leafs blew a 2-goal lead. The Sabres came back, tied it up, and they won on a Morgan Riley goal with 11.8 seconds left. But all I'm saying is that was not a victory that Sheldon Keefe was proud of. He said after the game, the first 2 periods in that game were dreadful. And, the effort was not there. He said he didn't get an effort from one line of the 4 lines. He said he got a good effort. So, they won the game, and I'm sure they'll take the 2 points, but they shouldn't be happy with the performance.
Right. Now, recently Cousins had a 2-point game.
He scored 2 goals. He scored 2 goals against Edmonton.
Right. But he's still a -7, and I'm trying to look up his.
Well, when you're playing, when you're playing him with Drake Caggiula and Vinny Hinostroza, what do you expect?
Yeah, and that's ultimately the problem, and that's the same problem that I have with the Rangers and their young kids, because it's like, you got to play them with players that are the kinds of players that they know how to play with and could make them better. Not ones that you're expecting the rookie to make better.
Cousins should be playing with Skinner. He should, if he's, but they really have him in it's not third line, but it's third line for them, third line talent. He should be playing Skinner. Olafson's out of the lineup. Remember, things are different here because Middlestad's out of the lineup, and their number 1 center right now. I don't even know who the hell. It may be Rasmus Asplund. So, it's
this problem is league wide. I'm telling you, if we start breaking down, and maybe one day I'm going to have to, all the teams with how they're playing some of these young players, with the exception of Mercer, because the Devils have really integrated him into every part of their offense. We'll talk about him in a minute, but with Cousins, here's the perfect thing, Mike. This is exactly what's happening with Lafreniere and others. So he's doing fine on faceoffs, actually, 44%. His shooting percentage is 13%. He's got 23 shots in 14 games. He's not even averaging 2 shots a game. How the hell is he supposed to get better and be a top scorer when he knows he's going to get a couple of shots a game and that's it? And when you start watching some of these guys on some of these lines, when that guy passes the puck, a lot of times it's over. The puck goes the other way. It never comes back in their zone, and they're off the ice. And I see that happening with Lafreniere, and I see that probably I would guess that's probably happening a bit with Cousins too.
We got some breaking news here, courtesy of Darren Drager and Bruce Garriock. The NHL will postpone games for the Ottawa Senators versus the New Jersey Devils on Tuesday, against Nashville on Thursday, and the Rangers in Ottawa on Saturday because of the COVID outbreak with 10 players in protocol. The club has canceled its flight to New Jersey. So finally, the NHL.
It took long enough.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for 4 or 5 days. They called up half the Belleville Senators, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous.
It's bad for them. It's bad for fans showing up, not getting a real product. Like, it's bad for everybody.
So
But at any rate, with Cousins, he could get better scoring chances and set up his teammates better if he had better teammates.
Yeah. So we'll see how this goes.
Really.
We'll see how this goes along throughout the year. If this is just like the first half of the year, they want him to learn how to play at both ends of the ice, and then maybe they give him more of an offensive role. I don't know. Yeah. But just to go back to this. Again, I keep bringing this up, and we'll keep bringing it up if this gets worse in other situations. How many games will it take before they cancel going to the Olympics? If they, is it a multiple teams, multiple games?
Multiple teams, probably 3-4 games each.
Yeah. So
there's one team you could make up these games. It does affect 3 other teams. Don't get me wrong. But once you start dealing with 3 teams, and then it starts affecting 9 teams, then then it's a problem.
David in the chat, like I said, nobody was going to spend $200 for a test with a
Right.
72-hour window and then spend $150 to $200 a ticket. That's why. The Sabres play in Hamilton in March. That's their home game for that outdoor game at Tim Horton. I think it's Tim Horton Field in Hamilton.
Yeah.
That'll be sold out. It'll be 20,000
sold out. Yeah.
20,000 Leaf fans. Okay. Well, let's talk.
It won't be 20,000 Leaf fans.
It'll be 20,000 Leaf fans.
It won't be 20,000 Leaf fans. There will be some Buffalo fans there.
What, 6?
There'll be more than 6, Mike.
We'll see. Okay. I checked in. Alexander, yes, it's proof of vaccination required to enter the arena in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I checked in on that Rangers Devils game last night when you and Jan started talking about it, and it was really the overtime was extremely entertaining.
Yeah.
I was waiting. Who was the defenseman that used to play for Carolina who did the great? He was a Ranger and did that. It was like a 16-round shootout, and he did that. Marek Malik. That's right. I was waiting for
I remember watching that game. That was crazy.
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to emulate Marek Malik.
That was the Rangers' first shootout, I believe.
Yeah. So
that many rounds.
But it went 7 rounds, I believe.
No, I think it was longer.
No. The Marek Malik.
This one wasn't it longer than 7.
It was 7.
7. Okay, I thought it was a little longer.
7 or 8. But I asked the question: is this bad goaltending or is this just good scoring? And I thought Georgiev actually made a couple nice saves later, but it was 3-3 going into the shootout. A lot of opportunities. As you said, I was really surprised at how Lindy Ruff is using Dawson. He's Dawson Mercer in the overtime.
He should. The Rangers should be using Lafreniere in the overtime. Like, that's what you do. If you have a kid like that, that's what you have to do with them. And like someone said in the chat room, he is doing well with Jesper Bratt. That's true. And Bratt can handle both ends of the ice, but he's also fast. And
Andreas Janssen has been getting a lot of ice time as well.
Yeah. And so it's a good thing for Mercer because Mercer is a good player. But again, the Devils are doing it right. Yeah, it won't last that he has the most points on the team. But the idea is they're doing it right. And again, I want to say on this show, for all the people that told me on Twitter that Pavel Zacha was a bust, how do you like him now? Again, with bigger players, it sometimes takes longer for them to really, have a big impact. He's been scoring 12 to 15 goals, but I get it. He was a higher pick. You wanted more out of him. Well, they're getting a lot more out of him now.
Yeah, I have to say, of what I saw of the Rangers, after we talked about Kakko and Lafreniere not getting enough playing time, Kakko, he scored his first goal of the year, and
close, which is what I keep telling people. That is the way Kakko scores goals, either with great hands on the side or he has to kind of cut through the area, but the Rangers don't ever seem to try and enhance what he could do. That time he did it on his own. It was good. And
Gallant used both him and Lafreniere in the shootout as well.
Yeah, well, that's smart. That was smart.
Now, the game had a few moments in it. One, Mackenzie Blackwood getting knocked out of the game due to concussion.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it looked more innocuous. Like, we see goalies when Kakko comes in there, I don't know if he tripped over him, whatever, and Blackwood goes down. A lot of times goalies sort of get banged up like that, but, obviously he was probably concussed, or his neck. I think, no, it was his neck. They said his neck, there was something with his neck, but it still could lead to concussion, obviously.
Yeah, it's a whiplash or whatever.
Yeah, I was just surprised, but Bernier came in and did really well.
Yeah, and the other thing, we saw the little snippet of it where PK Subban collided with Sammy Blais? It was a low. Now
he didn't collide.
Okay, did he?
He slew-footed.
He slew-footed him. Yeah, it was collide. It's like, okay,
it was a PK Subban special. Everybody knew it when they saw it. It's his 4th of the year.
Second against the Rangers.
And Ryan Reeves did nothing. So, Mike, the point of having Ryan Reeves, we have Ryan Reeves. He's going to protect everybody. I've even heard you say that. Well, guess what? He didn't protect anybody. He didn't go after Subban.
Well, maybe he's writing it down on.
Oh, he's making a list, is he?
He's checking it twice. He's waiting to see who's naughty or nice. Well, PK Subban has been naughty because this is the second time he's done it. So,
well, like fourth this year, but second against the Rangers.
Right. So,
and I got to tell you, that's something where be careful, because if you want Chris Kreider running into your goalie next game, keep it up.
This is good. PK Snoop.
That was fun.
Like
I did laugh at that. But I feel bad for Blake. I mean, he was the best 4-point guy in the NHL by far. And
has there been any indication of the severity of the injury?
All Gallant would say is it didn't look good.
Oh, jeez.
And that's not good. And I feel bad because Blake, was filling a role. We'll see. We'll see what the hell happens with that.
If it's a partial tear of his Achilles, that could be couple months at least. If it's a full tear, that could be longer.
He's out for the season. If it's a full
he could be, yeah. All right. The NHL Hall of Fame class, or excuse me, the Hockey Hall of Fame class.
Well, hold on. Vince in the chat room says Kako goal shouldn't have been allowed. Textbook goalie interference. He tried to avoid the goalie.
Yeah,
that was not goalie interference. I'm sorry.
The Hockey Hall of Fame will induct their 2020 class tonight. After
we're in 2020. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but they purposely did not have a 2021 class because the 2020 class lost out on the festivities because of COVID.
Yeah.
Now we'll talk about some of these players. And let's see, the builder is Ken Holland, which I don't think anybody will dispute that one.
No, and actually, the funny thing about Holland is, he's from the BC area. He very well thought of out there. People are very close out there. So he knows a lot of people and has really stayed in touch with a lot of people. He's very personable that way. So people could rip Ken Holland for various things, but he deserves to be in there.
Yeah, Pierre LeBrun just basically said what we said. He said, also a reminder that the NHL and the PA have until January 10th to opt out of the Olympics. If the number of postponed NHL games escalates over the next 2 months, that's obviously a possibility. So yeah, I mean, they're gonna monitor this.
Okay. I was looking for something on this Hall of Fame class because I was on the call, and I see our friend Julie Stewart-Binks said there should be a mullet wing in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I'm with her. I agree on that.
A mullet wing?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I
think that would be great.
Yeah, sure.
I'm interviewing Scott Hartnell later. I'm going to ask him if he should be inducted.
Yeah, but is a mullet curly like Scott Hartnell?
Why can't you have a curly mullet? You can't. It always has to be straight.
No, that's unseemly, isn't it?
It's not unseemly. No, if it's longer in the back, it's a mullet. It doesn't matter if it's curly or not, Mike. By definition.
Yes. It was a business in the front. Anyway, to the class. Also, Tony Gallagher and Rick Peckham win the Foster Hewitt and Elmer Ferguson awards, or are honored with the Elmer Ferguson and Foster Hewitt awards. But players: Marian Hossa, Jerome Mcginla, Kevin Lowe, Kim St. Pierre, and Doug Wilson. Now, okay, there's a couple here that I think are long overdue, and I thought Doug Wilson. I think we talked about this a couple years ago. I thought Doug Wilson deserved to be in a long time ago. And what's that?
Two Norris's rather.
I'm not sure. I'll look it up, but I think
I know he had one.
I know he had
two.
He had one that year when he scored. I think it was that year with Savard and Larmer when he scored 39 goals. It was,
and he has a truckload of points.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He was. I mean, he's not Bobby Orr, but I'm saying he for the early to mid 80s, I think he was the best offensive defenseman. 1982, that's the year. He was Norris.
Just once, okay.
Yeah, just once. First team All-Star in 82, second team All-Star in 84 and 89, 90. 8 All-Star games. And he was a 2-time nominee for the Norris.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah. His big year was that 81-82 year when he had 39 goals and 46 assists. I believe that was, like I said, that was the year with Savard and Larmer. That was a phenomenal offensive team. But yeah, so I mean, I think he
one thing to add. So for his call, when he got the call, he was actually like in the backyard pool playing with his grandchildren. It was a good story. Like his wife had to go get him. He had to come out of the pool, get to the phone. He had no idea it was coming because, at that point you kind of feel like it should have happened already.
He'd been passed over a few times.
You're not going to sit by the phone. So I felt really good for him. One funny story I could tell you, it involves Kevin Allen too. When we were at the media day in Nashville, when they were in Pittsburgh before the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah,
they were playing Nashville. We were in the interview room with all the players, and then we had to hurry up and get to another area to talk to like the coach and GM and such. And Kevin and I are hustling, man. We are hustling, and we hustle to the point that everything just stops. And Doug Wilson turns around, he goes, looks at me, he goes, "Relax. We're not going to do this press conference without you." And I just laughed my ass off. It was really
because I was there. I remember that.
I know, but you must have been even behind Kevin,
Yeah. Well,
so you probably didn't hear it. And I thought you were there. And yeah, it's just funny.
Now, Kevin Lowe, 5-time Stanley Cup champion. Sorry, 6 times.
I wouldn't have put him in though.
6-time Stanley Cup champion, 5 with Edmonton.
He's the arguable one.
He's what?
He is the arguable one because I feel like if Ken Morrow's not in, Kevin Lowe should not be in.
Well, I think Ken Morrow should be in. I mean, he won 4 straight.
Right, but not before. Kevin Lowe should not be in before Ken Morrow. Ken Morrow won a gold medal too. Did Kevin Lowe ever win a gold medal?
No. Because during his career, Canada was professionals for the Olympics.
Right. So Ken Morrow won a gold medal, had a bunch of cups too with the Islanders.
Yeah.
He should have been in before Kevin Lowe.
Yeah. But I
love Kevin Lowe. I grew up a Ranger fan. Like if Kevin Lowe wasn't on that team, they don't win a Stanley Cup, but he still shouldn't be in.
Right. Marian Hossa. Well, I know a certain segment of Leafs Nation who still hold animosity towards Marian Hossa for the Brian Berard injury would probably raise a stink about Marian Hossa, but his career statistics, his Stanley Cup win. Remember, he was on the losing end of both times in 07 or 08 and 09. He was on
teams.
Switched teams. He was on Pittsburgh in 08 when they lost, and he was on Detroit in 09 when they lost, and then he was on Chicago in 2010 when they finally won. So.
Yep. 3 great defensive player too, a Selkie guy too.
Great 2-way forward. Russ thought he was going to make a comeback this year.
I did.
You did, but you were wrong.
Former Atlanta Thrasher.
Yes. Former Arizona Coyote. His career.
He never played for the Coyotes, Mike, to be fair.
Well, just like, hey, come on. Their wall of fame is going to be Chris Pronger, Pavel Datsyuk, Marian Hossa.
It's funny.
Now I think the one that is not disputable is Jerome Mcginla. Jerome Mcginla is now he didn't win a cup. He won an Olympic gold medal, but he won an Art Ross, and he was arguably one of the top 5 forwards for a block of maybe 5 or 6 years. Not too many people remember he was traded as a young player for Joe Nieuwendyk.
Yep.
So, that was – and Joe Nieuwendyk helped the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup in 99. So
not as much as the refs did, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, please. Dominic Hasek was at the game in Buffalo on Saturday, and he was still saying, "No goal, no goal." Yeah, so
both Hall of Fame players, so you can't dispute the trade.
No, not at all. But I think later in his career, like most players, I think, Mcginla, he traveled around. He was, he went to Boston, he went to Pittsburgh, he went to Colorado, I think. No, not Colorado. I think he ended up in LA. I think that was his last stop.
It was Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, it was
Boston and Pittsburgh. I can remember.
He ended up one place. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Yeah, Colorado. I had it. Okay, Calgary, Pittsburgh, Boston, Colorado, LA. So 5 teams. Okay. So, like I said, I don't think there's any argument about.
No, I have a good story with him too.
Go ahead.
He when he was first voted to the Olympic team, and they told him he was chosen, and camp was in a couple days. He drove. He got in his truck and drove to camp. Like, that's how excited this guy was. He was already a star NHL player. He could have taken a flight. He could have taken a private plane. He just got in his car and in his truck, he said, and drove. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, he's great. Like, no dispute. No, none at all. I have to bring this up because I just find it laughable, especially after the statement that was released. And I interviewed Leo Komarov a number of times when he was with the Leafs. He's a good guy.
Leo, yeah.
Uncle Leo. He's a good guy, well loved by his teammates. But we knew the end was near with him as he passed through waivers a couple times and nobody claimed him because he's making $3 million. But it came out a few days ago that he was going to SKA St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
And that how convenient for Lou Lamoriello and the New York Islanders that all of a sudden Leo Komarov is heading to the KHL, thus cleansing them of the $3 million cap hit. And Leo comes out with his statement online and says, let's get things straight. It was my idea to go to the KHL.
Right.
Yeah. I believe that. I believe that completely. It's unbelievable. But I mean, this is Lou. I wish I had the Godfather music in the back. This is Lou being Lou, and this is Robidas Island and all these other things that he can do. And
it's just that long-winded post though. That was the crazy part. I got to take my dog out. Hold on.
Yeah, no. It's. I wish I could. I'll see if I can pull it up while we're waiting for Russ to take Perla out. I'll look for it here. But like I said, he's a useful veteran player. But that contract, I said when they signed that contract, I was Leaf fans wanted Komarov back, but not at 4 years. $12 million, but in actuality, that was a deal that it was never going to last 4 years because they were going to find some way to escape the last year of it. Now, here you go. This is the statement. Toughest decision I ever made in my career. Leave all my teammates and trainers who have been like family to me for the last 3 years. It hurts me more than anyone could think. Let's put all the rumors away. I made this decision myself. Nobody else did it for me. Sure. I want to thank the Islanders organization for all their support as they boot me out the door. I want to say how happy I am that I got to know the boys, not just a few of them. Okay, so I mean, I don't know. I just think he knew he wasn't going to play.
It was very touching, Mike. I went like this.
Yeah, exactly. I shed it.
As a team player, though, he did the best thing for his team. He left.
Right. Yes. The best thing for my team is that I'm not on it. So yes, it's bad. It's really bad.
All right. So we have to talk about a hit.
Yes.
Or a throw. Sidney Crosby when they played the Capitals was upset because Fehervary is that kind of player, and Crosby grabbed him and threw him headfirst into the boards. That's how strong Crosby is, and we know that. Skates away, nothing. Nothing happens. League's not going to talk to him. I don't even think he took a penalty in the game.
There's a different standard for star players than there is for regular players. I think if that's Tom Wilson, he gets suspended. If it's Ovechkin or Crosby, then people look the other way. And maybe I'm overgeneralizing here, but I think that I really think that that's the case.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't I don't get it. I don't like it. I think it's unfair, but I think that's the way. It's sort of like, Barry Bonds getting the call on the edge on ball 4 or strike 3. It's Barry Bonds. So or Wade Boggs, their strike zone. Now, in baseball now that may not be the case as much.
This is one where you could give the guy a massive concussion by doing it.
Yeah, I mean,
that.
It was right. It wasn't that he threw him to the ice. He threw him into the boards.
Yeah, and like someone said online, it's like, how's that like not a match penalty?
Yeah, so I don't get it, but okay, we have to mention this because the fervor and the chatter after seeing this goal just made everybody go, ooh. Matvei Mishkov,
that one.
The next Russian phenom. Now, I'm not saying that he's not, but everybody just lost their merd.
You know the last guy that had a nickname, this isn't really a nickname, but he'll get one, who actually lived up to it, was Draisaitl when they said he was the German Gretzky. God damn it, he's pretty close.
Now, what
he didn't say that. People said that about him.
Now,
that's pretty close.
Are they saying he's the Russian Gretzky?
No. But somebody will make up something.
Oh, sure.
They have a couple of years to do it.
Yes, but okay, so he has this unbelievable lacrosse type of goal behind the net. Fantastic. He's 16, turning 17 in December. I would think he's going to be part because he's playing for Russia at the Karjala Cup. He's more than,
by the way, it's not a hotly contested, we're going to check you hard, play tight hockey kind of tournament. So,
But as with, we spent more time following the Karjala Cup last year because the season didn't start until January.
Nothing else, like we had to.
Right, there was nothing else to talk about. It's a precursor to what the team, like say Team Russia, you're gonna see for the World Junior. So it's very possible at 17 years old and with his ability that he's going to be part of Team Russia for the World Junior. Just like there's a chance. I mean, Shane Wright's going to be on Team Canada. I don't know if Connor Bedard, who's the presumptive number 1 pick for 2023, is going to be on Team Canada. He's only 16, I believe, so it would be a stretch. They usually don't do that unless he, and I know that his stats were good.
Stats are a little off this year. They were off the charts last year, but last year, it was a different kind of season, so it still doesn't not make him great. It's just, hey, he is that age, and it's going to take him a little while. But did he look great last year? In international play, he did. He was fantastic.
Bedard last year in a brief WHL season had 28 points in 15 games. This year he's got 8 goals in 16 games.
No, but what did he have internationally? He
played
9 points in 6 games, something like that.
Well, he played for HV71 in the Swedish juniors and was a point per game. I have to look on Elite Prospects to see.
Yeah, my computer's not getting it.
Yeah, I'll do it. But the point being is that let's see. Here we go. On the fly, folks. This is what live TV and live.
Yep.
Okay, so last year,
under 18s.
Yeah, it just popped. There we go. At the under 18s, he had 14 points, 7 goals, 7 assists in 7 games.
I said 9.
Yeah, 14 points in 7 games, 28 points in 15 games in the WHL as
playing up in age, so
as a 16-year-old. So, could he make Team Canada? I mean, I haven't seen any projections in terms of Team Canada's roster, but
I don't know if they'll have him on there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to remember, 19-year-olds can play in this tournament, so they can wait another year. But I think Wright will make it. I think that's.
Shane Wright's making it.
Yeah. So, but Mishkov could make it. He could make Russia. And he's
Sure,
7.
because if they want to just have him there so they could trumpet him and hope that he does something, yeah. I mean, that's
sort
their
of
style.
sort of like Rasmus Dahlin in 17 when he was a 16-year-old. They spotted him. They gave him they I think when they had the last change they played him, but they didn't play him every game. So
we do have somewhat breaking news.
Go ahead.
So Ryan Ellis re-injured whatever his injury was in the Dallas game. And, I remember AV saying he wanted to ease him in, and I thought if he's ready, he shouldn't have to be eased in. Well, he did ease him in on the third pairing, and now he's out again. So it does make me think, Mike, that, again, the reason I said that is if you feel a player's 100%, there's no reason to ease him in. But if you're going to tell me you're easing him in, there's always this thought in my head that
he's not ready.
He's not quite there yet, but he's a team guy, so he's going to give it a go. Well, he gave it a go, and now he's back out. And that's going to hurt the Flyers, especially with playing Calgary and who else? I think they're playing Washington and Boston. I think it's Calgary, Washington, Boston. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But
but I mean, there was no point. I mean, obviously, it's easier to say in 2020 hindsight if the player gets hurt after one game, but really, it's stupid. I mean, you want the guy to be in your lineup. Usually
Calgary, Tampa, and Boston.
Usually the rule is, when the player is 100%, wait another week, unless it's a playoff scenario. Wait another week so he's overripe or over healthy or whatever, just to make sure nothing is wrong.
But you know what that is? That's, again, like Justin Braun was getting played a lot, and he wasn't great the game before. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that worked into their decision or not. I have no idea. But now you're back to Justin Braun again being on the top pairing, and as you get deeper into the season, that becomes a harder task.
I'll take some questions in the chat before we end the show.
Because I think it's worth mentioning. Yes, Vladar did have a shutout for the Flames. Vladar is really good.
Vladar played fantastic against Toronto on Friday.
He's a really good goalie. Like if Markstrom ever goes out, they're not going to miss a beat.
Well, the smart thing, and Boston really had no choice in the sense that they would have probably lost Vladar on waivers.
Yes.
Swayman. They like Swayman, and Swayman was going to be their co-number one with Allmark. Swayman had options. They could send him back to Providence and not lose him.
Vladar still go to Providence when Rask is back.
But Vladar was out of options, and if they didn't carry 3 goaltenders, they would have had to send him through waivers. And with the way goaltender, if Scott Wedgwood is getting claimed, then Vladar would have gotten claimed. So they traded him. They got a 3rd-round pick, and Calgary's got a backup and maybe a 1B who's making $750,000 this year and next year. So that was a good trade for Calgary. Alexander is referring to X posting that there are rumors, at least that he is hearing, that Evgeny Malkin, who is a UFA at the end of this year, might go to the Capitals as a free agent. Now, I would say that's a possibility if they find a trade to move Kuznetsov. Otherwise, right. How the hell are they fitting in? Because Backstrom's not retiring; they just signed him to a new deal.
No, it would have to be Kuznetsov because, and again, he'd be with Ovi and Orlov, so he'd still have some Russian buddies there, and Samsonov. It would have to be Kuznetsov. Now, I do think Kuznetsov is more marketable now that he's actually playing well again.
Right. Yes. Let's see here. Here we go. Tony Soprano, how is Travis Green and or Jim Benning still employed? Ownership was on that row. Well, they said that Aquilini was planned before this slump. Do I believe that?
It's very convenient.
Yeah.
Message there.
Yeah, but didn't they just give Benning an extension? So I mean, that's the thing. It's like I know that Green's got a year left in his contract, but if they just gave Benning an extension. Now, the thing is, they went out and they made a lot of moves. They traded for Ekman Larson. They traded for Connor Garland. They bought out Holtby. They did a lot of things, and they're not getting the results right now.
It's funny. Remember, a year ago, I thought Green would be the first one fired.
You did.
This year, I didn't feel that way because of the moves they made. I said, okay, I feel like this is going to work out. Now it hasn't.
Now,
honestly, the Aquilinis, there's two things that they are. They're loyal and they don't like to spend money. And so they
spent money this offseason.
I know, but it's begrudgingly, and they don't like to get rid of guys with salary like Torts that time.
Yeah, the thing is, in a way, they spent money, but it's sort of down the road because what they did was they cleared all their junk out in that Ekman Larson deal. They cleared out, Roussel and Jay Beagle, and they moved those. And Louis Erickson, they moved all that dead money out, but they got Ekman Larson, and he's got like 6 years left in his contract. So, now they've got that money going forward. And I was just looking up what Ekman Larson is doing statistically, and I mean they're 5-9-2 right now. The only team that they're better than is Seattle. Quinny Hughes is having a good year. JT Miller is having a good year, over a point per game. Connor Garland is third on the team with 12 points. Right now, Ekman Larson in 16 games, Russ, has 3 points.
We talked about it. We said if he is cooked, this is another Louis Erickson contract.
And you've got
this isn't looking good. We even early on we were like, okay, maybe he looks better than we think. Now he's sort of fallen back to the pack here.
Pedersen has only got 9 points.
That's a problem.
Yeah, now, I still think that he's a really good player, but, maybe who knows how much he was training in the off season. There was a holdout situation. I mean, at least
I think that maybe hurt him a little bit, but I also think he's going to have to learn a few more tricks because the league has caught up to him a bit, don't you think?
The thing with Pedersen is that I've always been concerned about his sleight of build and him taking physical pounding.
Right.
And, always worried that eventually that's going to catch up to him. And, I know that they brought in like some physical player, like the justification for bringing in Michael Furland was like, okay, he's going to protect Pedersen.
Right, he played like 2 games.
Yeah, and then he got hurt. So, I mean, that's got to be a concern. Now it's early, only 16 games. He could have a good week and he'd be right back at it. But that's a concern. And Brock Besser, only 8 points. I mean, there are some players.
Besser should turn it around.
And Thatcher Demko, who we thought was not a shoe-in, but a likely choice as a third goaltender. I mean, hell, I remember somebody saying, well, he could be the number 1 for Team USA. Well, 5-6-1, 3.33 goals against, .898 save percentage. Now you could say
Hellebuyck's back in there and Campbell's in there now probably.
Hellebuyck, Gibson, and Campbell.
Yep.
I mean, if Campbell continues to, and this is not the pro Leaf thing here, it's the fact that he's having a great year.
He'll still start Hellebuyck over Campbell, though.
Oh, no, I'm saying it's going to be Hellebuyck or Gibson as the starter.
Right.
Campbell would be the third string.
Yeah.
Still.
Even if he's better than him statistically, it doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly. We'll end with this one because this is like a debate that and this is like choosing your children.
Oh, here we go.
Bada bing, Collins or Gabriel with Genesis. I mean, okay, this is the thing. I love both incarnations of Genesis.
But you don't love them equally.
No. I do. I mean,
that's baloney.
Let's say it this way. Okay. I think, the Jump the Shark for Genesis was Invisible Touch. Even though I love We Can't Dance, I think it was a better album than Invisible Touch. After Invisible Touch, they went pure pop.
Right.
But from Trick of the Tail to Abacab, or Mama, as I called it, the self-titled album.
Right.
Both sides are just as good. In terms of I don't think Trespass is a great album, which is the first big album for them. But then from Nursery Crime to Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, which is the Gabriel era, they're all classics. and I love every one of the Genesis Collins albums up to Invisible Touch. So
no mention of Calling All Stations, Mike. Why not?
no, because it's an atrocity. That's why. Was it?
Here's my thought.
Yeah.
I know, like Tony Soprano says, Collins turned a great band into a pop band. Well, Collins was writing all the music. If Tony Banks could have written anything, which he clearly couldn't, because if you ever listen to his solo album, it's
his solo album is terrible. But up until Duke, most of the writing,
right? Then he obviously the well ran dry, and that's what they had to go with Collins. They didn't have anything else.
Well, from what they say it was basically a collective. It was like
they collectively wrote the song "Invisible Touch." That was a collective mistake.
Yes. Sure. Oh, please. It's a trap.
But here's how I explain it. I only knew the Phil Collins Genesis going back to, and then there were 3. That's when I bought that album by accident. It was a cutout. If anybody knows what a cutout is, they used to cut out the top of the record, sell it at half price. I bought it because I'm like, this is interesting. And so I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is great. So I turned into a fan. Then I find out about Gabriel with them, because that Gabriel that I knew was Salisbury Hill and already the early hits of his solo career. Mm-hmm. I liked the Gabriel stuff. I went and saw the theater-ish look that he had with costumes, all well and good.
Yeah,
I like the Collins era better because that's sort of what I grew up with. That's the only reason. If I grew up with the Gabriel era, I might be saying something different, but I didn't. So I don't think either of them was better. I just think that's just the way it was for me. Now, I do hold it against Gabriel that he at least never came back for one tour. All of his fans wanted it. He really could have done it. And for whatever reason, he didn't want to do it. And he still doesn't want to.
Other than a concert, and I think it was 1981, where Gabriel was going to take a financial bath for some festival.
Yeah, they did that one concert.
They did that one concert, and it was like they barely practiced, and it wasn't even something that you would want on bootleg because it just sounded.
It was on bootleg though.
It was on bootleg, but you don't want it on bootleg. Like if it was one great show and that was it, then fine. But it was not something I'm like searching out there to buy the bootleg. But I'm just okay. Let's just talk.
You block Funky because he put Sledgehammer versus Against All Odds. Like, just block them. Sledgehammer is 1,000 times better than Against All Odds.
Yeah, right. And Against All Odds was a movie soundtrack. It wasn't on a solo album. Just like Two Hearts or Groovy Kind of Love weren't on. Those were soundtracks. Those were.
How does Bada King even know that I like the Doors? Have I talked about the Doors a lot? Do you know that, Mike?
No,
I've never said anything about it.
You do like the Doors, and
I do. I like the Doors a lot, and they were one of the bands that I sort of, as like a 15-year-old, got into rather for the first time. I knew some of their hits when I was a little kid, but yeah, I actually do like the Doors. Pink Floyd, I'm okay with.
I like Floyd.
I don't love them. I don't hate them.
I'm not
some songs,
I'm not a devotee of Floyd, but just let me finish off the Genesis argument. So, both solo careers are fantastic. Collins had more commercial success. Obviously, Gabriel had but before I mean, his albums were more critically acclaimed. The Melting Face or the rain. He's in the car with the raindrops. I mean,
I can only take so much of Biko.
Yeah, I love Games Without Frontiers. I actually think
Games Without Frontiers was great.
I actually think Salisbury Hill is extremely overrated. I'm
not overrated. How could you even say
that? I've never been a big fan of that song.
It's like not being a fan of chocolate ice cream.
No, but I like more obscure songs like Moribund the Burgermeister or
you want the deep cuts. I get it.
Right. Or okay. Collins played on 2 of Gabriel's solo albums, and I can't remember what song it was, but Gabriel told Collins to play the drums without playing the cymbals, and that was his impetus for In the Air Tonight, because remember the drums and In the Air Tonight have cymbals. So there was influences crossing back, but I love the old Genesis and I love the new Genesis.
Here's how you know that Collins was the most talented guy in Genesis, and it had to go a certain way. When you listen to Face Value, that's how you knew, because some of those songs were songs that bled onto other albums.
Yeah,
stuff he didn't use for that.
Right. He recorded that album in his home studio.
Played everything.
The demos, and then updated a few things in the actual studio. But those were, I mean, Genesis was on a break and everybody was doing a solo album, and I think it pissed off one particular member of Genesis, Tony Banks, that Collins, oh, by the way, did his own solo album, and all of a sudden it exploded into superstar.
It wasn't just good. It was good to the point where not only everybody had to buy it, but they all talked about it as far as how it was one of the best solo albums they had ever heard from anybody.
I saw, you can search it online. I believe it's on YouTube, and then on the show here. You can find it online. There's a documentary series called Classic Albums. They've done Asia by Steely Dan, and they did Collins' Face Value. And they interviewed Ahmet Ertegun, who's the head of Atlantic Records. And he, from the very beginning, thought that Face Value was incredible, to the point that when new bands came into the Atlantic Records offices and they played the demo of what their song was to get a contract, he says, "That's good, but you want to hear something great? Listen to this." And then he'd play In the Air Tonight to them before it was released, and these people are saying, "Oh my God, what the hell is that?"
Yeah, obviously, Funky, we were kidding. I think the whole
time. But Tony Soprano says Steve Hackett's solo stuff is amazing. It is. Mike Rutherford's solo stuff.
Mike and Mechanic stuff is tremendous.
Right, even before Mike and the Mechanic.
Yeah, I love it.
I think it was Small Creeps Day. Yeah, he had a couple solo albums that were pretty good, and Hackett and Collins played on those. So it's funny that the only one who didn't have anybody else from Genesis on this solo album was Banks. He did
because I think he just felt like, I'm just going to do this on my own and just show the world that I could do everything, and he couldn't.
Yeah. So,
okay.
but I have to say, just like Tony Banks is the Steve Howe of Genesis.
I think that's fair.
The band would not be the same without him. He's an incredible keyboard player. His musicality and his ability to play. It's throughout the history of the band, the early stuff, the late stuff. But sometimes, his personality with Gabriel rubbed the wrong way, and you could tell that there's a documentary series. And you could just they're still friendly, they're still mates from college, but
there was another member too, right? That was in the original Genesis.
Anthony Phillips.
Yeah, Anthony Phillips. Right.
He was the guitar player for Trespass, and he was replaced by Steve Hackett. Yeah, so
he kind of not like Pete Best, but I think he kind of
he left. He left because of health reasons. He couldn't.
It was health, okay.
Yeah, like the first drummer for Rush, who had diabetes type 1, he had to leave the band because they were on the road and he was drinking all the time, and then basically it would have killed him if he kept going.
Right.
Anthony Phillips, I believe, had stage fright, and he really couldn't get over it, and he just they were all still friendly with him after he left the band. And like I said, all of them played, I think, on his solo albums, but he just really. He couldn't hack it, so to speak. So Steve Hackett was the one who replaced him. And great song here. I know it's more of a ballad, but a fantastic.
It's a good song.
It's a great song. Kate Bush is
a good song.
Okay, it's a great song. Okay, for Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.